Hey, welcome back, guys. This is Shah. I found this clip from Fresh and Fit, and it stood out to me because he's asked like why he doesn't work with certain other content creators in the sphere. He basically says why he doesn't work with Pearl. Then he says why he doesn't work with whatever podcast, and he calls whatever podcast basically like just kind of in it for the money. And what's funny is that the whatever podcast channel then comes back and leaves a comment on this, basically accusing them of the same thing. And to me, this is fascinating because I sometimes think that a lot of the creators in the red pill or the manosphere space are just kind of grifters and trying to sell their products. It's just funny that they're calling each other out because I think it really reveals the truth of the situation. Let's go and watch the clip and just see what's going on.
I want to make sure we address this appropriately. Who are you talking about specifically?
Yeah,
go
exactly.
ahead. Go ahead.
Who in detail?
Who are you talking about specifically? And I'll go ahead and tell you why we don't work with
just
them.
Pearly things and whatever podcast.
I knew he was going to say that.
Yeah.
Okay. Number one, y'all might not know this, and I have no problem with Pearl personally, but she made a hit piece on us back when we were going through the fucking situation with Anus and Reach.
Yes.
Okay? I have a serious, as you guys know, loyalty is extremely important to me. If you talk shit about me, I will not forget. And she made a hit piece on us. Y'all might not know about this, and I'm not saying this to attack or whatever, but facts are facts. She made a hit piece on us back when all this shit was going on in August of 2021. At the worst time, she kicked us when we were down.
Yeah.
So that's why we don't work with her. There's your...
I can get that. I mean, if someone makes a hit piece on you, I wouldn't see why you'd want to work with them. So that's easy.
Answer. Now, as far as whatever goes, the reason why we don't work with them is because I'm not going to align myself with someone that isn't a part of the red pill space for real. I'm going to just call it $1 million.
It's money.
He's here for money, bro.
Yeah.
Let's just call it all the way 1,000. He's here to make a buck, which is fine. I'm never going to knock someone for being a capitalist, but he's not really in this space to help men from what I can see. If you're out here selling pocket pussies and, having, long-ass podcasts, draw out clips, etc., I understand the business strategy, but we don't align with that because you guys have asked us 1,000,000 times. So I want to address this once and for all. Pearl, y'all know why. Whatever, we don't align in our belief system. That's not to knock him or who he is or how he runs his business. We actually wish him the best.
There you go.
But he doesn't have the same values as us, and I personally think he's in it for the money, and that's not why we're in it. We're in it for completely different reasons.
We're hitting like a little bit of a no true Scotsman here with a lot of these content creators and the red pill. And it's just interesting that he outright says, they're just in it for the money. Because in my view, so many of these creators are. But let's go and look at whatever's response to this. Here's the comment below the video, and this is from whatever podcast, so you can see the check mark. So let's read what they said. As for Myron's unsubstantiated claim that we're just in it for the money, so Fresh and Fit does their show for charity and out of the goodness of their heart, ? Fresh and Fit monetizes their audience way more than we do. Some of what they do, DMs on demand, 500, High Value Academy, 700. The High Value Academy thing is interesting to me because so many of these like red pill people who are supposedly advocating for men are selling these like high value man things. You know what I mean? And a lot of like this whole sphere has been taken over by that high value man narrative, which I understand how it can work, and I understand how it can work for some people, and I understand self-improvement is important. But I think it's just as ridiculous as saying like everybody can be rich. And the truth is that's not feasible. Everybody can't be rich. You know what I mean? But this is like everybody can be a high value man, And I did read Myron's book. I do have it, Why Women Deserve Less, and at the end of it, he basically just says, well, if you can be a high value man, then it's all on the women to carry the relationship. So you should try to be that. And in the meantime, you should make as much money and focus on you and just don't spend it on women. He's basically saying like, don't simp. It's kind of implied that not everybody will make it. So I'll give him that a little bit, but it's like what I remember is there was Andrew Tate, and Andrew Tate did the first, Hustlers University. He was making so much money and he blew up. And then all these other creators wanted to like be like him and copy that business model. So it's like you got Fresh and Fit with this High Value Academy or whatever that is. Then you got Sneeko with this creativity kit. His was like the most obviously like, copying Andrew Tate in that way. And then Pearl has her own version. I think it's called Wife School or something like that. But to me, it's just a grift, like they're selling you a dream that most of us can't get. I mean, I'm just an average guy, and None of these schools are going to help out with that. But let's read the rest of the comment. Doing way more sponsorships, supplements, and peen pills every episode. Oh, wow. I didn't know Fresh and Fit was selling peen pills. Selling tickets to sub-milestone parties, live events, hundreds of dollars. If anyone has exact dollar amounts, DM me on IG. Merch, $50 for a t-shirt. Fresh charges $3,000 for an hour consult, $1,000 for 20 minutes. Myron charges $900 for a 1 hour consult. Super chat, dono memberships, there's probably more. We take super chats, donos. We've done about 7 sponsorships total. We have merch, memberships, that's it. Look at the bare bones facts evidence. FNF has monetized their audience far more than we have. We put on an entertaining show. If you want to drop a super chat that we read, cool. That's pretty much the extent of it. We are not fleecing our audience selling our own digital products. We aren't doing landing page funnels and charging $500 for a dating course from a guy who lies and claims he has a 1,000 plus body count. Man, see, there's some beefing going on here between whatever and Fresh and Fit. Mind you, Fresh claims this body count before FNF getting his clout. He's claiming to have like slept all these women even before like they got rich, which is kind of a funny thing. Like I don't like this whole narrative about like, oh, you know, if you you have to become a high value man and that's how you get chicks. Like this kind of stuff and this part of the internet was never about that. There was never such a huge emphasis on that. Like it was just about understanding women, trying to learn some game. You know what I mean? It really was more for the average guy. And I feel like so much of this just focuses now on like becoming this rich Bugatti driving, private jet flying, just, you know, 6 foot tall, whatever. That last part's going to be impossible if you're not already there. And then you hear, you know, okay, he says he has all these chicks before he got rich. And it's like, the best thing you can do is learn how to get girls before you get rich. To me, it would be a nightmare to get rich first and then have to learn how to get girls because you only have way more to lose at that point. Values don't align, but they got a stripper pole in their studio, among many, many other things, I could say. Okay, buddy. So funny, after just a few podcasts ago, Myron said he never starts talking ish first. I've had nothing but positive things to say about them. Go watch my episode with Trillstream, and I've shouted them out a bunch, but whatever. So that's interesting. And in the video, you know, Fresh tried to say like, well, we do wish them the best, but they're not real red pill. So he really did call him out and he tried to be nice about it. So it looks like whatever is just kind of coming back and like, man, that's messed up for throwing us under the bus like that. My biggest critique for whatever podcast was always that he just doesn't call out the tradcons enough. Like, you know, they'll get like a prostitute on there. They'll get the OnlyFans chicks. They'll get random hot chicks from a dating app. And then they'll call them out on body count and all these things. But then he'll have like Officer Tatum. He'll have Michael Knowles. He'll have Candace Owens. And he's had like a lot more of these basically, you know, tradcons. I guess Lila Rose. I think Chase was the other guy. I can go down a huge list of all the different tradcons he has on. And the show kind of just platforms tradcons. And then they call out essentially these kind of very progressive women, feminist progressive women. But to me, that's not really advocating for men because progressive women and their body counts, I don't think are the actual problem. The problem is the laws, you know? And I don't ever really see Bryan pushing back on Candace Owens, let's say, and say, hey, Candace, why aren't you advocating for reforming marriage laws? Why aren't you advocating for helping men get custody more of the time? Like, why aren't you actually advocating for things that help men? And in fact, tradcons just typically tend to help enable feminists by having these old school antiquated laws that don't really make the game fair between both of us. So that's kind of my thing with whatever, but I still, you know, like the show. But the show is just more so let's platform tradcons and then have them go at it with feminist OnlyFans girls or whatever. And to me, that's not really advocating for men in the way I would think like men should be advocated for, you know. And to go back to Fresh and Fit, they're also not really advocating for men, even though they'd claim to, and he does claim to. They're just advocating for this hyper self-improvement, hyper masculine narrative. Like, hey, learn how to become a high value man. And that's what they're advocating for. But, you know, most guys are going to be average, and 80% of guys at any given point in time, even if one of them blips up into the high value stardom and then falls back down or whatever, are average, and they should be advocating for just normal guys like you and me or whoever, and talk more about the laws and bring on people to find out how to create a movement to change that stuff. Instead, it's like, hey, here's Andrew Tate. all of this stuff, you know, Sneeko, Pearl, Fresh and Fit, they all kind of just simp for Andrew Tate. I mean, to be honest, you know what I mean? It's like Andrew Tate's the hyper self-improvement guru, gets all the chicks or whatever, but like this is the Andrew Tate philosophy, you know. A real man is ultra rich and provides his woman with the most expensive things money can buy. It's like this is their hero, you know. And I look at a tweet like that and I'm like, I don't believe that's true. I don't think that's what they should be advocating for. And when I look at someone like Andrew Tate, I think he's as much a grifter as Fresh and Fit, or if you want to call, I don't even want to call whatever podcast a grifter, because they're not selling a high value academy like Fresh and Fit is. They're not selling the wife school like Pearl is. They're not selling the creativity kit like Sneeko is. You know what I mean? And all of that's just a copy of Hustlers University, which is like the biggest grift. So when it comes to Fresh and Fit, I mean, I think it's the pot calling the kettle black a little bit. And for them to say that they're truly advocating for all men, I think they're just advocating more like, hey, here's the guy we all wish we can be, and here's us trying to help you do that. And like I said, self-improvement's fine, but they're selling this like hyper self-improvement, this hyper masculinity that is just not feasible for everybody. It's like that time Sneeko said everybody could be rich because crypto and this and that. And then he got in these debates with Destiny and I think Abra and Preach, and they're like, listen, everybody can't be rich. And Sneeko was like, yes, everybody can be rich. And then they're like, no, you can literally prove this economically. Economically, everybody cannot be rich. It's literally like impossible. And it's the same thing with this, you know, high value Superman, hyper masculine Andrew Tate-ish brand of stuff. I don't know. When I look at these content creators, I just kind of feel like they're not really actually helping men's problems. You know, they're just kind of giving men this kind of mental masturbation of like, let's invite a high value man on. Let's watch this high value man shit on the women. And then the viewers watching it, the average guy, can feel like, yeah, he got her. You know, I'm living vicariously through this high value man. I'm a temporarily embarrassed millionaire. I'll be a millionaire someday too. And it's just this Kool-Aid level entertainment, but it's not them actually figuring out how to help men. And I mean, Andrew Tate doesn't help men. Andrew Tate doesn't advocate for changes in family law. And it's like, I know his self-improvement narrative isn't the answer, because Andrew Tate himself, with all of his 6'4" manliness and Bugattis, had to leave where he lived to go to another jurisdiction that has fairer laws, right? Because that's what the manosphere, the red pill guys and the dating guys and everybody should be focusing on, is finding a way to get all these movements together and then advocate for actual legal change, to redesign the system so that it makes, you know, pairing and incentivizing families to come together to make more sense for both men and women. And as women start to make more money, you know, you got all these pharmacists out there, doctor women, nurses, they make good money. A lot of people make a lot of money, you know what I mean? And they don't want to get married to a guy that makes less than them. But if the laws wouldn't chew out the provider and destroy you in a divorce, then those women would be more likely to marry a guy who makes less than them, most likely, because they're like, oh, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And the same with the guys and women. They don't have to fear being a gold digger. You know, it's like, it's just interesting to me, and that's just my perspective on it. So anyways, if you made it this far, I appreciate that. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. The channel's now partially monetized. You can leave a super thanks if you want. All that money you send will be spent on cool things like camera gear, me going out with chicks, you know, on dates and things, and me buying more collectible action figures to put on this shelf. But aside from that, I am thinking about streaming soon, so I might do some reactions and on stream. But before that happens, I'll leave some community posts. I have about 700 more hours to go before I hit that 4,000 mark, and then I'm fully monetized. But I do appreciate the support everyone's given me so far. So we'll see you on the next one.